Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers.
Folks, welcome home. Here we are, yet another episode of Shaking Your World. We are on tour today on this lovely little tour bus boat called the SS Milwaukee. Michelle is one of the owners. She and her husband have championed this thing a couple of short years ago. And we're going to take a short little jaunt around some Milwaukee streets and some highlights and talk about the tourist industry, talk about the SS Milwaukee, and talk about just stuff. Let's go. All set?
Welcome.
Life preservers in place?
Ahoy!
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
So, this is a really cool little concept you got going on here. How'd you think of this?
Well, I went to Nashville for a bachelor party back in 2016, and I saw an open bed pickup truck, and they just had a bunch of ladies. They have bench seating, just like you see in here, and it's for groups of girls or guys for bachelor parties and bachelor parties, or just to see town. And they drive around and they let you have cocktails on their little truck. It was actually quite big. And I thought, well, Milwaukee doesn't have anything like this. If they do, they don't have anything that's an open concept. So I came back to Milwaukee, told my husband about it, and I said, hey, let's engineer something that we can have in Milwaukee with our weather. So we came up with open retractable windows, so we can still have a roof for, our weather that's very unexpected.
It is that. Well, this is really a cool little thing. So I can well imagine a gaggle of girls here in a bachelorette party.
Oh, yeah.
What's your capacity on this?
Comfortably, we can fit 12. Legally, we can have 15.
Okay. Does that include somebody on the driver's lap, the captain's lap up there?
Yep, it includes that as well.
Cool. So I really like the fact that you have embraced this nautical history, because Milwaukee, a major port town at one point, has a beautiful lake. Lake Michigan is exquisite.
Absolutely.
And in summertime, it's probably, in my mind, some of the best living that there is in the country.
Absolutely.
So here we are, we're going on this little cruise kind of thing. And can you tell us where we're headed right now?
Yes, so Captain Pete, is going to take us downtown Milwaukee to Wisconsin Ave, where we're going to see some sculptures. They call it Milwaukee Sculpture, and it's something they do every summer. And art sculptures, it's really neat. And we'll head down Wisconsin Ave, and we can kind of slowly put past, point them out. It's tied into the Milwaukee Public Museum.
Well, you can tell a lot about a culture and a society by its public art, and I'm glad to say that as a Milwaukee resident, we've got some really nice things that are going on here that a lot of people never even appreciate or hear.
Or even know about.
Or know about it. And like anything else, it's difficult to be a tourist in your own town.
Absolutely. When we take people from, locals, they are just, they're just shocked at what they don't know about our city.
I bet. Well,
right now we're going over a confluence of our two rivers, the Milwaukee and the Menominee River.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in case somebody doesn't know what a confluence is, it is two rivers of the same width that conjoin.
Here we are.
And here we are. Heading down Water Street.
So we're actually, I think now, technically, we have just crossed from Walker's Point into the 3rd Ward.
Correct.
Both two of the original areas in Milwaukee. Walker's Point, of course, founded by George Walker.
Correct. Yep. One of my favorites of the 3 founding fathers.
Well, he was the pirate, wasn't he?
Amazing. He was the youngest out of the 3.
Yeah. Naive in many ways, and the other certainly took advantage of him time and again.
He was very jolly and drunk.
Well,
aren't we all here in Milwaukee?
Indeed. That does seem to be our methodology, yes. So how does Captain Pete feel about being the captain, doing all the work here?
He loves it.
You get to look glamorous, and he's driving.
He loves to drive, and I love to talk, so it works out great.
Arr. Arr.
So we're cruising past the public market, which is one of our stops on the SS MKE. It's great. It's cool. You got to check it out if no one's seen it before. So we make it a mandatory stop. Well, not mandatory, but if people want to get out, grab a bottle of wine, a beer.
Coincidentally, we were here earlier today having the lobster rolls at St. Paul's Fish Market.
That's my favorite.
Captain's favorite.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it just happens to be, a tied-in theme with our boat.
Absolutely. Nice little tiki bar there.
Yeah.
So this is your 3rd year doing this?
This is, yes. And Barely any business, thank you, COVID-19.
Well, what a year it's been. Yeah.
Yes.
Best laid plans, right?
Although you got to pivot, so we just started going towards getting away from the public tours and doing more of the private, family-orientated jump on with your COVID quarantine family.
Makes a lot of sense. Opportunity abounds everywhere, doesn't it? And you have to seize that moment.
So if you look to the bus right, this is, or bus side right, this is one of the most spectacular buildings in all of Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Mutual building. It used to be where they did the commerce, the grain exchange back in the 1870s.
And the building right across the street in front of me is the site of the old Newhall House fire.
Absolutely.
One of the most devastating fires in the entire country for the longest period of time. Happened in January. People were literally jumping from the 4th and 5th story. Some were hitting the Western Union wire, telegraph wires and bouncing back. Some were just cut in half. 103, 105 odd bodies, which really, they didn't recover bodies because they were just so destroyed by the fire, they were just mounds of ash.
Yep. And then NML, Northwestern Mutual, back then, bought that building, and that was their first home here in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Buildings. One in 1912, and then the skyscraper right next to it in 2017.
That beautiful complex, that entire campus they have going on there, massive. So it used to be Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance, NML, and now it's just Northwestern.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm glad you're taking this route because this is also the route that we use on our Milwaukee Dead tour, part of the series of Hangman Tours. So there's such a rich history in Milwaukee and so many deaths as well.
Yep. We are considered one of the biggest haunted cities in America.
We are that. And Shakers, of course, here's my plug, is regarded as one of the 5 most haunted bars in the country.
Absolutely, and Shakers is one of our stops on our tour because it has a rich history and it's just an amazing, amazing building to point out in our city. And
Well,
you've done wonderfully with it. I love it.
You're gracious. Thank you very much. It's been fun.
Yes.
Interacting with the number of people that we have in the last 30 years has been the highlight of my life, quite honestly.
Showing the visitors what Milwaukee has to offer is
Yep.
is a high you never really felt before until you see them get off the bus or out of your establishment, and they're just all smiles and grateful that they stopped.
This really is, in so many ways, a world-class city that people don't appreciate because we're in the kind of the middle of the country. It's the flyover zone. We're dwarfed by Chicago, and thank God in so many ways we are, because
Absolutely, because then we would not be on the map.
that's true. And just the nonsense they have in Chicago today, I'm glad that we're up here and not down there.
Yes. Chicago folks are a lot of our visitors, our
Yep.
guests on our bus, and by the time they get off the bus, they're like, we feel like family. We feel like very close connected. So behind us is the art museum, and you can see that wingspan full.
The Calatrava.
Yep. 270 feet.
Breeze de Soleil.
Wingspan.
Beautiful.
Built in 2000. Calatrava, Santiago Calatrava. Beautiful.
Just what a glorious day this is for this. I'm glad you invited us out.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we did only a handful of tours this year, and it happened to be on those days that were 90 and no wind, so it's very hot. Because obviously we don't have air conditioning.
Well, that too could be the Midwest. Yes, indeed.
So Sculpture Milwaukee is down this road, and quite a few odd, well, I don't know if people think that's odd, but it's like a melting crayon with a monster face. I love it. But
Federal Courthouse behind us. What a beautiful structure that is. 517 East Wisconsin Avenue.
which used to originally be the post office.
Yep, and right behind us is the Pfister Hotel, which is also haunted, by the way.
Yes, and that is a beautiful, it has over $1 million worth of artwork just in their lobby.
Just in the lobby, yep.
Anyone can just walk in there and check it out. You don't have to stay.
So we are in the midst of the financial district, as it is, and many of the larger law firms are within 3 blocks of us as well. Some real giants in the country actually are located here. Across the street we have social marketing. believe we'll be talking to them in the very near future.
So we're on the east. We're on the east side of the river. So this is called East Town, which was founded by Solomon Juneau. And if you notice, a lot of the structures here have some old with a lot of modern, lots of skyscrapers. This is like what they considered the elite side of town, just because of the business. And
Scott Free Salon is right behind us. Quite the active little nightclub scene here, just past Lucid.
Yep, this is, yep.
Carnivore Steakhouse right behind us as well. Someone's got places to go.
Even that Cleaners has been here since 1908.
London Cleaners, absolutely.
Isn't that neat? Something that's been around that long. Still going. And I don't think COVID's going to really bother them too much because people still need their laundry cleaned.
Yes, they do. Even for Zoom, yes, you do.
Well, at least from the waist up.
Just to the west of us is the Pabst Theater. It has quite the national reputation.
What's interesting about the Pabst Theater is they built that in 11 months, and that included demolition. So just think back in 1895 how fast that is for not having what we have today.
Well, when you have money, you can accomplish quite a lot, can't you? In a short period of time.
That's absolutely true. So the reason for the bus to look like a boat is because we're trying to give tribute to the waterways. As most people know, but maybe not everyone, we are surrounded. So like we said earlier, the Lake Michigan, and then our rivers, we have 3, Kinnickinnick, Menominee, and the Milwaukee River. And Captain Pete and I have kayaked on all 3, including Lake Michigan. But just in the harbor, that was nuts. Don't go kayaking in Lake Michigan.
Yeah, I would not recommend going in open water.
Don't do it.
In fact, we're coming up on that time of year that even to be on a sailboat, it can be a little hazardous. It gets very dicey in October, and I would stay well away in November. I've been on it in November, and I have kissed the ground when I got back because it was harrowing.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't do it. I get seasick, so.
So right by City Hall, which is oddly enough under construction, it seems like it's constantly under construction right now. Milwaukee is built on these marshes, and the footings are in need of constant repair. Right around us is where we at Hangman Tours do our Whoring 20s tour, because Milwaukee was known as the best hospitality city from 1885 until 1910. Oddly enough, it's all around City Hall, or was. The first order of business in 1910 when the socialists took over was to shutter all of the brothels, which brought them down by Shakers, which is a different story.
Oh, yes. And we have that lovely book that you told us about.
Excellent. And the world famous Safe House is right behind us. Been around since, I believe, 1968.
Yes, and it's in the Meineke building, which used to be a toy and wicker shop or manufacturing.
Crossing over the river again.
Now we're crossing over to Westtown, which is where Byron Kilbourne settled.
Byron the intellectual.
Yes.
In his mind, yes.
He's a little scandalous.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, Solomon Juneau did have the Journal Sentinel building.
He did?
Which is actually a few blocks forward of us.
Solomon Juneau and Byron Kilbourne had this huge feud going for many years.
The Bridge Wars.
The Bridge Wars, that's correct, yep.
Federal building is just blocked that away.
Which I feel doesn't fit. It's very blue.
No, it's blue. It's definitely blue.
Yep.
Milwaukee.
So this building in front of us is the Milwaukee County Historical Society.
Yep.
It used to be called the Second Ward Savings Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And Public Enemies actually filmed here back in 2008. And what they filmed was a bank robbery. And what's interesting about that is that that bank never was robbed in its history of being a bank. And it's also a beautiful building. It's something you definitely need to visit if you visit Milwaukee.
And to our immediate left is the old Journal Sentinel, a shadow of itself today. At one time, one of the most acclaimed newspapers in the country. And of course, they're tied in with the Hearst publication system as well. And now, Collier's perhaps owns that. I'm not even sure who owns it, but it's really an advertising supplement more than anything else. The Fourth Estate truly is dead in this country.
Yeah.
So, oh, on the right side, coming up, Usiners,
1880.
world famous sausage manufacturer. The fine German tradition that Milwaukee is known for.
Yep, and what's really interesting about that is they still to this day allow their employees 2 breaks and a lunch to eat any sausage that they please. And we're cruising down Old World 3rd Street, which is the German stepping grounds. This is where they started it all back in 1850.
Mater's Restaurant on our left has quite a reputation as well. Been around since 1903, I think.
Yep, and it's surprisingly the newest building out of the bunch. They made it look like the 1800s.
Speaking of new buildings, Michelle, right in front of us is the Fiserv Forum.
It is. And all of this awesome outdoor, they call it the Deer District. Originally it was going to be called the Live District to still keep Old World 3rd Street alive.
Right.
Bringing people to what they call the German Athens Street.
Well, Milwaukee, the Athens of the Midwest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was always amazed they didn't call it the Berlin of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Because of its Germanic influence. Turner Hall right in front of us, quite the entertainment venue.
It used to be the gymnasium back in the 1800s, and when I say gymnasium, I don't mean like where you lift weights, gym. It's where they did gymnastics and
The
ice
Milwaukee
skating.
Turners.
Yep, the
Yeah.
Turners, yep.
Yeah.
And if you notice, there's a ad. It's called La Perla, Fifth and National. It's considered a ghost ad because it's no longer in business or for sale. So it's a ghost ad. That's the newest ghost ads. The rest of the ghost ads are from the 1800s, back in Walker's Point mostly.
And La Perla was based actually in Walker's Point
It
as
was.
well.
Hamburger Mary's took over that building.
Talk a little bit more about light food travel, less of the destinations.
So Milwaukee has a very vibrant food scene, and it has evolved. It's constantly evolving. We have just about any type of cuisine you can imagine.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite, by the way?
I love Thai food.
Okay.
And of course I love Italian, Sicilian food because that's what I am. But it's hard to find the best. I mean, better than my nanas, you know?
Well, it's good to keep looking, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the excitement of going to a restaurant.
And there's a lot to choose from. You don't have to just pick one.
We filmed at a lovely Laotian restaurant a couple of weeks ago called Thumb. Have you been there?
I haven't. I would love to try.
You must. It's in the Crossroads Collective on the north side.
Okay.
And it is extraordinary food. Marvelous people on this. The passion they have is in every dish, and it is some of the best Asian food I've ever had anywhere, including in Asia.
Asia.
So, the Capitol Grill right next to us. It's a national chain, but pound for pound, they make a really fine steak. I'll say that. And also, though it's behind the camera right now, we have one of the Skywalks. Milwaukee was known for its Skywalks in the late 70s through maybe late 80s. They were everywhere to go along with the convention business. That never quite gelled because there weren't enough hotels at that time.
Right.
And now we've got an abundance of hotels.
And they're still building.
And they're still building. And set up at one point for the DNC, which didn't quite materialize in this COVID year.
And this is where it was going to be hosted. At the Wisconsin Center. That's another hit that we took because in hopes of, your third year, it's one of those make or break kind of years. And this was going to be our year with the DNC. With all the visitors coming, we thought we'd get on the map.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is a Mulligan. This is a buy year for everybody.
Absolutely. So. It's where you got to, work out the kinks. So, Bob, what's one of your favorite restaurants?
In the world?
Nope, just here in Milwaukee.
I am really impressed by Thumb. And I don't say that lightly. As a chef, I'm really a food snob. And their food is absolutely extraordinary. It's fresh. It's everything you could possibly want for food to be.
What about bar food? Like a quick.
I'd rather spend my time at the Milwaukee market where you've got a variety of venues to go to.
Yes, agreed.
The drop a basket of fries kind of thing isn't my scene. It hasn't been for a long period of time. So I generally stay away from bar food. But Milwaukee Public Market is one of those things, as is the Crossroads Collective, where you can have a variety of things to work with. The Grand Avenue is going to be opening up its own situation like that, where they've got 40-odd vendors coming. Obviously, that's also a casualty of COVID this year, but it's going to open next year with a bang. I think that's something to look for, because no matter what you're looking for, you're going to find it there. And I think that I'm a very adventurous eater. And I think that I like things that are edgier, and I stay away from the staid type things, and I stay away from who's got the best burger, because a burger's a burger.
Yeah, and it can be different from one day to the next.
So right in front of us, we've got a bridge crossing taking place. What do you think it could be?
Ooh, the Edelweiss possibly?
Could be the Edelweiss. Milwaukee has...
bridge war scenarios. This road should just go straight through. We're on a grid system.
You would think, but no, this is where the bridge wars happened, and they couldn't decide on the street lineup, so they just built up to the river.
And plenty of livestock was shot, but no people.
That's right.
All right, what do we got here?
Yeah, not too long ago, Milwaukee was the Wild West, which is why during Prohibition, you had all the mob people coming up from Chicago and opening places like mine for a speakeasy.
Yep.
But that was really the scene in Wisconsin. It was just wide open.
Yep. And it was a stop, with the Great Lakes.
So here we are waiting for the bridge to go up. Obviously, the rails are down, so it's probably someone in their dinghy. Competitor, perhaps? Get those bilge pumps going.
Yeah.
What's really neat is we still have our swing bridges.
So if we could turn the camera for a moment, you see actually this bridge is going up horizontally, as opposed to what you typically think about, like the drawbridge style of bridges. Captain Pete up there.
Ahoy, mateys.
They just fixed all these bridges. Yes, absolutely.
There's so much to do here, and I understand obviously why I'm in the tour business. I understand why you're in the tour business. And clearly the opportunity to showcase the city of Milwaukee for both of us and everybody else that's in the industry is a remarkable thing. Where do you see this heading? Obviously, COVID at some point is going to be not as significant of a factor as it is today.
Correct.
So next year, tell us your plans.
So basically, we're not here to get rich. We're here to make people smile and showcase our city and let people know exactly what we have to offer. And so it's for our locals, of course, but it's for our visitors, and just to set them up and give them an idea, maybe possibly an agenda of what they want to accomplish. So it's the best thing to do is get on our bus when you get off the train or the plane or your car or the boat, because we have cruises now stopping here, and take our tour so you know what to expect and where to go and what to see. There's so much that you're never going to get everything in one weekend. You'd have to come back multiple times. Just the museums. We have 25 different museums and golf courses.
What's your favorite museum?
Oh, man. I love the Milwaukee Historical Museum. That's probably up there. But I love just our public museum. It's very neat. But I really love our library, which used to originally be our public museum.
Our Natural History Museum was actually here before the Field Museum in Chicago and the Museum of Science and Industry. And there are so many beautiful things that are curated there that I'm sure people in Milwaukee just are not aware of, as we've been discussing. I really like the Art Museum as well. And since we're talking about things kind of that nature, we have an extraordinary zoo in Milwaukee.
We do. It's up there in the top 2 or 3. And our zoo originally was in Washington Park.
It was. I was actually old enough to remember that, being there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you're dating yourself.
Yeah. These days, someone has to, but...
Oh.
So now we're headed south again, and we're going back towards the 3rd Ward. Captain Pete, where are you taking us?
I'm thinking about heading over to about 5th Street, kind of showcasing what some of the 5th Ward has to offer.
Excellent.
5th Ward, Walker's Point, same thing. A lot of people in Milwaukee didn't know that.
That's true.
That jump on our bus. They're like, what?
Well, part of the reason that there was a renaissance for calling it the Fifth Ward is because of Jeffrey Dahmer. And he was all over, obviously, the international news. Everything was from Walker's Point, Walker's Point. So they reverted to a name that had been used a long time ago, which is the Fifth Ward, back when we had designated wards, like the Third Ward that we're in now. And that was intended to alleviate some of the stigma from Dahmer, and by changing the name. But the reality is it didn't make a difference anyway.
Right.
And just added more to confusion, if anything else.
Absolutely, and I had no idea. Thank you for that.
Well, of course, at Handmade Tours, we do the Cream City Cannibal tour, so we're very conversant in the life of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Do you know why our brick is of that cream color?
Well, it goes along with the particular type of soil that they were mining in the quarries and making the bricks from.
It's got the compound of magnesium and lime, and it makes that creamy color.
Nowhere else in the country, they say.
It's true.
Hey, Michelle. So we talked about the tour industry. We've talked about a little bit about the food scene here in Milwaukee, the great things going on in Milwaukee. But what challenges have you had personally since this co-vacation has taken place?
Well, no one wants to go out into Milwaukee's, public offerings, attractions. They're scared, and it's difficult to draw them in. Of course, you have to pivot and try to draw them in other ways, but it's definitely taken a toll on us, 100%.
I'm sure it has, and certainly that has to carry forth in everyone's personal life. It certainly has with me as well and my family. I'm sure it has with you and the captain as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just have to, like I said earlier, you have to redirect your thought on how you're going to capitalize next year and what you can do, and just kind of chalk it up as, oh well, instead of giving up. You can't give up. I
agree. So where do you want to go? What do you want to do aside from the business aspect? Where do you want to go the rest of this year, early next year?
Just to bring I just want to be noticed. I want to bring some awareness. Just what we've been doing is just putting it around just so people can see that we are open. We are willing to let people jump aboard. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tour. We'll do transit. Let's say you want to go to the beer garden. Give us a call and we'll take you to Estabrook and all the way down to Whitnall if you'd like. So again, not just focusing in on just the city and then the tours of the history, but people want transportation and fun.
Sure.
You can also do that.
That's good. So where do you personally want to be in 5 years, and where do you want to be with the business in 5 years?
I would love for it to be my full-time job.
Okay.
And keep on making people smile and educate and, bring more love to our city. But like I said earlier, I'm not trying to get rich. I would love for it to just be a normal, steady job.
Nice.
Not work another full-time job.
Michelle, this has been an honor to have you. I'm glad you guys took the time of your day to take us on a tour. I love what you guys are doing. The SS Milwaukee, that's an incredibly cool, novel little idea, the kind of thing you do see down south. And I'm happy that you guys have this product. I'm happy that you got the dedication, conviction for it. And this, has been a crummy year for everybody with COVID.
Absolutely.
But again, we're just it's a mulligan. We're taking this as it is and moving forward.
That's a wonderful way to put it. Mulligan.
And I think that you have a huge future in front of you, just because of the way you approach things, and obviously you're a dynamic person who does love to talk. And when you're on a tour, you want a tour guide who is able to engage people and do exactly what you're doing. So you're a Pied Piper. You're leading them along, and I think that's great. And cheers to you and every part of what you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. It was wonderful.
Our pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.